Hi, Melissa Lee, and thank you. I'd like to welcome my special guest, especially today and especially in front of Friday at midnight, House Financial Services Committee Chairman Jeb Hensarling, Congressman Jeb Hensarling, who will be retiring, and I know many are going to be very sad to see him go. Thank you, Chairman, for joining me.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me.
All right, so S-21 5 barrels out of the Senate with some noteworthy issues. First of all, 17 Dems backed it. I believe the vote was 67 to 31. A bipartisan rollback of regulations. It seems kind of historic, but you're on the receiving end. What do you think of 2155? What do you need to do to alter it to get it to pass the House? I read somewhere that you want to put 30 other bills in that have already passed and incorporate them. Explain it all to us, Chairman.
Well, number one, I congratulate my Senate counterpart, Mike Crapo, who did an excellent job of shepherding this piece of legislation through the Senate. As a member of the House, we're always impressed when anything gets done in the United States Senate. So this bill is noteworthy. It is a bipartisan bill that has some modest regulatory relief and some pretty good pro-growth measures in it. But, you know, under our Constitution, there are two different houses in our legislative branch. And as the Wall Street Journal opined in their lead editorial this weekend, the House is not a potted plant. And so we passed an omnibus piece of legislation last June called the Financial Choice Act, which was a complete repeal and replace of Dodd-Frank. It's a beautiful piece of legislation. It's not going anywhere. So we have laboriously, over the last 5 or 6 months, broke that down into bite-sized pieces, and we worked with Democrats to see what would gain bipartisan support. And so we're up to 33 different bills that do with business development companies, small M&A brokers, Sarbanes-Oxley on-ramps for early growth companies, a lot of really good pro-growth measures, a tailoring act to make sure that regulation is tailored to the size and complexity. And these are bills that have gotten anywhere from 426 to 0 to 377.
Chairman, let me stop you a minute. Let me just stop you a minute. I want to save time here.
Okay.
I guess my question to you is, a lot of us are familiar with some of those bills that you want to incorporate in. But the real issue I sense is that maybe those 17 crossover Dems don't want any changes to their bills. So what I'm really interested in is, after you tweak it, what is your thoughts as to whether the Senate is going to be receptive to those changes, or will we blow right past deadlines and throw all this back into committee?
Well, with all due respect to my friends in the United States Senate, again, they're going to have to deal with the House. I offered to negotiate with Senate Democrats before the bill if they wanted to have only one bill. The phone did not ring, and so we are going to have to negotiate this after the fact. We're not putting in any poison pills in this bill. The bills that we're trying to add to this, our work, are all strongly bipartisan bills. And in fact, the ranking member, Maxine Waters, and I, who almost agree on nothing, actually supported a number of these bills. And so this is the way it works. I mean, I'm surprised that anybody thought the House would ever rubber stamp the Senate's work.
Not a rubber stamp.
No,
Listen, we're almost out of
stamp.
time, Congressman, and there's one topic I've been dying to talk to you about.
Okay.
I was very excited when Chairman Jay Powell, the new Fed chairman, rolled over to the Hill, came to your committee, and you discussed interest on reserves from the vantage point of, where the heck did this come from? Never read any congressional testimony on it. There's no talk of it in any of the committees. Where did this come from? Should you be using it? And how did this become a piece of monetary policy tool? Quickly, tell me about interest on reserves.
Well, it started out as a bill in 2006 because we know that various banks are forced to keep a certain amount of reserves at the Fed. It made sense that they were paid some modest rate of interest for that. Then we fast forward to 2008, we have the emergency crisis, And then all of a sudden, the Fed wanted to pay even more interest. And now all of a sudden, we have supplanted the open market operations of the FOMC with this tool of interest on excess reserves. These aren't just mandatory reserves. We now have the Fed paying the largest banks in America. They're paying them not to lend. This is the main monetary policy tool.
I'm out of time. I'm out of time. Before you retire, make sure you find some younger member to carry this torch. I think it's an interesting time.